I definitely have an obsession with efficiency. Yeah.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like. Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like.
Hey there, fashion friends. Welcome to today's episode, and thank you for tuning in. On today's episode, we are looking at a better way to build a capsule wardrobe. So some of you may know, some of you may not. In my previous career in the fashion industry, I was a visual merchandising manager. So my job as a visual merchandiser was to curate the store in the best way that illustrated the inspiration and the direction from the fashion designers that created the collections. So it's basically just how I've taken my experience from being a visual merchandiser and have then used that to refine a really easy approach to creating a personal capsule wardrobe. Hopefully these points or these steps will help you successfully build your own personal capsule wardrobe that works best for you and nobody else. So before we get into the actual breakdown on how to build the capsule wardrobe, there's just a few things that I'd like to touch on. So I do genuinely think that having modules within a capsule wardrobe is definitely the most efficient way of going about creating a capsule wardrobe. And it also makes it a lot less daunting. So I always suggest to people to have those modules. If you're not familiar with modules are basically just a smaller collection within a capsule wardrobe. For me, I usually use modules because I love to be able to have little collections within my wardrobe that serve different moods, different aesthetics, different color stories, or a specific print, which is exactly how I would put together a store. A store in itself has multiple modules, as you would call it. You don't have the same exact collection running through the whole entire store. So today's approach is sort of a little bit more focused on that approach. You can use this easily for a module approach and for a capsule wardrobe approach. It really works either way, but I would definitely say it is intended more for a module because a module is going to be a lot more focused on a specific intention. So how do you figure out that intention? How do you figure out the sort of focus for a module or for a capsule wardrobe? The number one question that I always asked myself when I was, curating a store, curating a collection, or styling mannequin looks was, where is she going? Where are they going? Where am I going? And the idea is that you're thinking about, what is it that I need out of this? So maybe it's that you're like, this collection, I need this to be my work from home collection. So that might mean that maybe you don't have to really focus on bottoms that much. If you're somebody that's always on Zoom calls and you want like a work from home module, the fun thing is yeah, you might not have to worry about bottoms. Maybe it's that you're a stay-at-home mom and you're like, okay, I want a module for all of my kids' activities, for the, soccer mom moments. Easy go-to looks that I know are gonna be just super easy for those kind of active moments. So that is sort of the idea, is that you're kind of figuring out your intention or figuring out your focus before you're even getting started. Okay, so let's get into the breakdown. So I've broken these down into two groups. The first group is going to be the core group, and the second group is going to be the elevated group. Speaking to the core group, basically the core group is going to be your pieces that are your key pieces. These are the pieces that you will probably use all year round, will use throughout your whole entire capsule wardrobe. They're just going to be your go-to pieces. You'll probably change them out somewhat, obviously, when it comes to seasonal things, just meaning like shorts and like tank tops. So let's get into what the core group looks like. The first pieces that you want to select for a module is going to be the anchor pieces. So in my job as a visual merchandiser, I would receive a directive every single month that came from the clothing designers, from the fashion designers, so they could basically communicate their inspiration for the pieces, their sort of direction, the sort of mood they're going for, so that then I could figure out how that could be translated into a store's presentation. And in that directive as well, there was always the key pieces that were communicated for the newest collection, the pieces that were going to be the priority for the merchandising. There was always some sort of theme. I knew that those were going to be the priority and that everything else was just going to revolve around those pieces. So those were immediately identified as my anchor pieces. So for a personal capsule wardrobe, you can use the exact same approach. You identify the pieces that are priority to you. So whether that's a bold floral print, or maybe it's a really bold color that you love, maybe it's neither. Maybe it's a pair of pants that you really love and a cardigan that you really love and a top that you really love. And that will basically be a great jump off point. Another way to approach anchor pieces is to use categories as an anchor piece, basically meaning that you could have your anchor pieces be bottoms. So maybe you want to have these 3 bottoms that you absolutely love, or maybe it's tops. Maybe there's 3 tops that you absolutely love, and you want to revolve everything else around those 3 tops. The good thing about going with category that I will say is it definitely makes it a lot easier to go through the rest of the steps to creating a capsule wardrobe, because it just makes it a little bit more straightforward. So the next piece in the core group is the pairing pieces. So as a visual merchandiser, once I had my anchor pieces established, I then would decide what to pair with those pieces. What a pairing piece is doing is completing an outfit, is completing an acceptable outfit, just meaning that you can legally go out of the house because you are properly dressed. This is what I mean by if your anchor pieces are by category. So if you start off your anchor pieces with bottoms, it makes it a lot easier for the next step of the pairing pieces, because then in pairing, you are pairing tops with those bottoms. So your anchor pieces are bottoms and your pairing pieces are tops. It just makes it pretty easy and straightforward. Whereas if in your anchor pieces you have a bottom, a top, and a cardigan, in your pairing pieces you have to be a little bit more mindful about what you're choosing. But it's easy enough, because when you're doing it physically, you will see it. You'll be able to see everything and match everything up. The other thing I would say is that you want to try to make sure your pairing pieces, if possible, go with all of your anchor pieces. So just meaning, let's say you have 3 bottoms in your anchor pieces and you're pulling in a top, you want to make sure that top goes with all 3 of the bottoms, if you can. So I would always say, try your best to make sure the pairing pieces go with all the anchor pieces to the best of your ability, obviously. Okay, so the next group is the elevated group. To me, these aren't core pieces because these are pieces that aren't required for an outfit. They're not required for your stereotypical top and bottom outfit. So these are going to be the pieces that are going to elevate the wardrobe with a little more texture, a little more dimension, or maybe it's just a little more interest. So the first one is layering pieces. So ultimately, as a visual merchandiser, you want to pull people in to the collection. You want to pull people into the store. You want to pull people into what you've created to basically, entice them, intrigue them to purchase the clothing. So it's kind of important to add that bit of interest, that bit of yumminess, that bit of texture, that bit of emotion, bit of drama to the outfits, to the collection. So for a personal collection, you're doing just the same thing. You're just adding a little bit of interest. Maybe it's a little bit of texture. Maybe it's just a little detail to give some dimension to the look. But ultimately, yes, it'll be your obvious cardigans, sweaters, sweatshirts, jackets, blazers, those type of things. Layering pieces are also a really great tool for being able to change up a look. They're just so easy to swap out. You can go from casual to dressy in a real quick beat by just changing out that layering piece. So for me, when I'm picking a layering piece, I always like to say, will this go with all of my core pieces, all of my core group? Obviously, sometimes there are going to be some cases where that might not be the case, but for the most part, yes, that is my sort of initiative, especially if it's a module collection, if it's a module within a capsule wardrobe, you for sure want to make sure your layering pieces go with all of the core group because it's such a small little collection. Okay, the next one is top off pieces. So these are the pieces that I would always make the sort of feature piece in a store. So one of the terms is a face out. So it just means a fixture that allows for you to face the item out so that the shoppers see the front details of the piece. So these face outs were always saved for the top off pieces, or these featured pieces. And normally these were the pieces that could kind of stand on their own. They didn't really need anything else with them to make sense. So these are going to be your coats as well as dresses, jumpsuits, rompers, those type of things, because you don't really need anything else for these. But as well as that, they're not always as necessary. They're not going to be always as diverse. And I always think that these are great pieces to kind of add in there, at least in a couple of your modules, maybe not every single module, but definitely if you have just like a full capsule wardrobe, you want them sprinkled in there a little bit, just to add that bit of elevation. Again, these are going to be pieces that can easily be changed out. They're going to be ones that can be swapped out. A lot of times they're going to be probably seasonal. Maybe for your winter modules, it's going to be the coats that are going to be your top off pieces. And then maybe in like the spring and summer, the dresses and the jumpers are going to be your top off pieces. Okay, and the last one is the sprinkle pieces. Can't have it without the sprinkles, can ya? Nope. When I was curating these collections, shoes and jewelry and accessories, they were always my last step, as I wanted to make sure everything else was established before adding in those pieces, because they are basically, to me, the cherry on top, these sprinkles on top. Again, it's going to follow whatever, your sort of inspiration, your intention for the module or for the capsule wardrobe. That's obviously going to be the vibe. So if you've got, an edgy module, maybe it's that you've got some really cool edgy boots that you want to add in there. Or maybe it's that you want to add complete contrast and you have just some really preppy white sneakers to add in that contrast to the edginess. Make sure that you're adding some good contrast, or you're heightening the look. Because again, if you're really passive or just don't really have that mindfulness of what you're adding, you definitely lose out on a lot of style. It adds not only style, but it also adds so much diversity to a look. So you could have one scarf that goes with absolutely everything in your wardrobe, but looks completely different every time you wear it, because it will kind of change. It's almost like a chameleon, where it sort of changes its look or changes its vibe every time it's styled differently with different types of looks. One of the things people would probably argue is that maybe shoes should be a part of the core group. And I do agree to an extent that I think you can definitely maybe add that onto your core group of having just some core shoes in there. I definitely have that. Like, I would say I have a pair of the Tree Torn hockey boot sneakers, and that is for sure a part of my core group, because I would say, and you guys probably know because I style it so much in my videos, that it's a core shoe because I just wear it with absolutely everything. The sprinkles, the elevated group type shoes are going to be the ones that are a little bit more statement. If you're like me and like a good like statement shoe that's got a lot of, maybe it's just more of a bold color or bold style to kind of just zhuzh things up a bit, to kind of just have that bit of elevation. I'm saying elevation a lot today. Again, like I always like to say, this could be a drinking game. Maybe it could be your Saturday night, hey, let's all watch Emily Wheatley on Zoom and drink every time she says elevation. Be feeling real good at the end of the video. All right, so that is it. That is my better way of building a capsule wardrobe. The reason why I do think that this system is successful is because it's a system that I've used for years in my career as a visual merchandiser, as I've mentioned. And obviously I had to curate a lot of different collections, a lot of different types of collections, a lot of different categories, a lot of different themes, a lot of different colors. So I think with this, I hope that it can work for everybody out there, because I think sometimes with capsule wardrobing, it can get kind of neutral based. I think a lot of approaches are very neutral, and they don't necessarily work for people that are, you know, maybe maximalist or eclectic, or just somebody that really just likes flower print. Whether you're a minimalist, whether you're not, whether you're somebody that wants a capsule wardrobe, whether you're somebody that just wants to refine your normal wardrobe, I do think that these steps can help you in that. So there we go. All right, you guys, I hope that today's episode was helpful. Comment below if you have any questions. Otherwise, yeah, if you did like today's episode, if you found it helpful, give me that thumbs up. Comment below, share with your friends, and subscribe for future weekly episodes. And if you are already subscribed, make sure to click that bell so that you are notified when I post my new episodes. Okay, my lovelies, that is it for today. Make sure that you are staying healthy, staying safe, loving, and supporting each other. And we will definitely be chatting soon. Bye.